Welcome to Feminized. It's time for a show that turns the spotlight on the powerful women shaping cannabis culture. The cannabis industry is on fire and women are sparking it up. If you like the show, please subscribe. You can also subscribe to the Feminized podcast with Liz Grow on YouTube and Instagram. The future is feminized.
Hey sis.
You're now listening to the Feminized podcast.
Ladies and the smart gentlemen who are watching, I am so thrilled to introduce you to Ms. Beth Kotarba, COO of Native Roots. Native Roots, the brand, the massive brand in Denver. The brand that we all know and love. And when Texans go to Denver, they're all just like flocking to Native Roots. So Beth, welcome to the Feminized podcast. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you so much, Liz. I'm thrilled to be here and be talking to you. So thank you.
Yes. Awesome. So, one thing that I just want to dive right into is the fact that, despite all of the amazing hard work that women are doing and contributing to the cannabis industry, the numbers are dwindling. It's sad, but the numbers at the top, the executive levels are dwindling. And you yourself are an executive of a very, very large and well-respected brand. So can you speak to that?
Yeah, I think that, and I am very lucky, and I have to brag on Native Roots a little bit here because we actually have a lot of women executives on our executive team. 3 of the 7 are women.
Yes.
And until recently, when we added a new member, at one point it was 4 of the 7, and we have 1 executive position open. So I'm so fortunate. I work with these wonderful women, and I've been able to see how the impact that frankly we've all made on the business. Mm-hmm. When you talk about the dwindling numbers, it's too bad. I think the industry can be a little intimidating sometimes coming in. Mm-hmm. If you pay attention and you listen to what's going on and you see who's talking and the voice of the cannabis industry, mm-hmm. at times it's men. Yeah. And a lot of them are men that, and this is my experience, I'm sure everyone has had different ones, but very deep in the growing or cultivation, they grew or they did it, and they know that aspect.
Yeah.
And there's probably fewer women with that background, but what I have learned and what I've watched my colleagues do is it's business, and it's not all about what lights to use and fertilizers and nutrients. It's critical you have that expertise. Mm-hmm. I don't think you have to have that to run the operation because there's so much more to it. It's people, it's the organization, it's how do I measure performance? How do we, processes that work and enable the work to get done.
Yes, absolutely.
So you kind of have to change your mindset on that. And a lot of times I felt like a little bit of a fish out of water when I'm, with peers or people that do my same job, because my background and experience is very different from theirs. And I'm not, in the weeds of those things. Now there's women I'm sure that do, well, in my organization, one of my head growers is a woman and she knows that stuff better than anybody.
Yes.
I don't mean to say that women don't have that background, but probably, less, especially at the higher level organizations.
Right.
Been there from the start. So, and it could be, when I started, it was all men pretty much in the production environment that I came into. I came in first over just cultivation area, and then my role expanded to COO. But
what year is that?
It was about 6 years ago. So what would that be?
18,
16. Yeah,
somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I remember my first day, well, I'll just, I walked into the facility and there was a room full of probably 15 young men, young growers.
Yes.
And I thought, gosh, they're going to eat me up and spit me out here. I was just terrified. And, I just said, hey, guys, I'm not going to tell you how to grow. You guys know that, but I'm going to help you do it better. Mm-hmm. And we just really good relationship of what I brought to the table and what they brought to the table, and it worked really well.
Oh my God, I love that. I love that. When you set the scene of your first day, of course I'm thinking, oh my God, like what an amazing feeling that must have been, because when you walk into any grow, that naturally there is an energy there. I feel really blessed, I think, to be in the position that I'm in media, because I get to talk to everyone, or just ask the questions that I really want to know about and just kind of try to experience it all. And I think from somebody coming in from outside of cannabis, I mean, what was that like for you to, step into that grow, knowing that you were, you're in charge. You're the head bitch in charge. I think that's what that's called. Okay.
I love that. Yeah, it's terrifying. It really was. My husband used to tease me when I took the job. He's like, you kill our house plants. How are you going to be responsible for it? Like, well, really good people that work there are going to help make that happen.
That's right.
But it felt so exciting to me. It was a new industry that we were figuring things out, which can be really hard sometimes.
Yes.
Really fun. And in consulting, I would go in and focus on a company's business problem and solutions, which served me really well in this role, because that's kind of what I had to do, learn quickly, figure out what we needed to do, help solve problems. But in consulting, you don't often get to see the result of those changes.
Right.
And so here, it's just been so amazing to see the team grow, to see us really, hone things in. When I started, I used to tell people I would get stressed walking around certain parts of the building because it just felt like I didn't know what was going on. And now, oh my God, it is just rolling and everybody is doing what they're supposed to do.
Yes.
So it's been really rewarding. And then just learning about the plant. It is such an amazing plant. I think that's something I did not fully appreciate when I came.
I love that though. It's like surprise, right? I mean,
walking through and someone asked me, one of the guys was like, so have you ever seen a marijuana plant? And I'm like, and I think they were kind of trying to figure out, what my story was. And
yeah,
actually, yes, in college, I know people that grew them in their closets. I said, I have never seen plants like this, I have to admit, and so many of them. And just, everyone was just so great and learning about, the plant and its biology and what it does and how it grows and, its breakdown of the flower. And by the way, plants that are grown are women. I find that female. I
Feminized.
These things. It's like, these are the girls that we grow. And so it's just been really, really fun. And then the flip side is legitimizing the business and coming, at it from a very professional perspective that yes, we can all have fun. And, I will say that was another big change for me coming from corporate America and working, at these Fortune 500 companies doing consulting. And it was a completely much more casual, laid back atmosphere, as you can imagine.
Oh yeah.
So get business done. And, it's like we can have fun and we don't have to be all, perfectly buttoned up, but we're business and we're rules. We're going to do it the right way and just grow this amazing plant that changes lives and helps people. And I've learned a lot about that as well. That's been just made me feel really good about what I'm doing.
Oh, yes. Oh, I just want to let that hang and let that sentiment touch someone out there, a woman out there who is excelling in her job in corporate America and rising in the ranks, but this maybe feels a pull or feels there's something missing or needs something more. It's like, wow, I feel like cannabis is that industry that does live up to the promise. There are profits being made and there are good things being done. And it benefits the consumer to do those good things. And it's just like, whoa, like the best business minds, like please come to cannabis because you can make it work for good, I think, here.
Totally. And it's interesting. I've met all different kinds of people along the way. And there are people that are science, right? Like we think oh, this new industry, and they hear, these sales that are just mind blowing,
Right.
Cannabis is really taking off. But, and that's part of it. But I firmly believe in what I've learned is you really do have to embrace cannabis and what it is and how people use it across the board, from medical to whatever. And just, like I say, embrace it and enjoy it, because if you don't do that, I don't think you can be as successful or enjoy your job. If it's just a business and a moneymaker for you, because there's so many good things, and it's fun. It's a blast.
Right. I mean, it's like sometimes, you feel like, oh, yes, this is actually work. And it's actually awesome. And, there's a little feeling of guilt there. I mean, I came from, the corporate America sales side. I sold software for 10 years, and it was great. And it allowed me to start my media company, the money that I made there. And it was just, I felt a little guilty. I'll be real. Like, no, I'm really doing something really helpful for people, and there was a very, I felt like, I felt I needed to really prove that this was legitimate, being in Texas, being from Texas.
Yeah.
So that's just an interesting phenomenon, I guess, that you kind of brought up in me. Very cool. So tell me your life story, as much as you want. But I think that I would love to know about your journey, from as early as you'd like to share.
Yeah, well, it's not super exciting, but I started off out of school in consulting with a large, one of the big 5, I think at the time, accounting and consulting firms back in the day. And
hey, which one? You have to give a shout out.
Well, it was Arthur Andersen, which is no longer around.
Oh my God, I love them. I had an interview for an internship at Arthur Andersen when I was in college.
Oh,
and I felt so proud of myself. So proud. I didn't end up going. But
well, it didn't end well for Arthur Andersen.
No.
I think for those of us that have worked there, the culture ran deep, and we were quite proud.
Yes. A lot to be proud of.
That things ended the way it did. But so I just started in consulting, and I did it for 20 plus years. Stayed with Andersen, and then as that went away, another firm, same people though, kind of my Denver office went with, it was then Hitachi Consulting. And then I went to a local firm, but again, with some colleagues of mine that had started their own firm. So consulting was really what I knew. And like you said earlier, it struck a chord with me because I did feel like I could do more. I was kind of at this point where my kids were grown, and they were, out of the house at school and things. And so I was like, okay, what is next? And an ex-colleague of mine had come to work for Native Roots, and I just was fascinated by it. I just found it so interesting what he was doing. And it was like, wow, this is like a brand new industry, but I didn't know a lot about cannabis. I will tell you that. I mean, I was very supportive of it when it was legalized here and everything. So it wasn't like I was had a negative opinion, but I just didn't know a lot. Mm-hmm. So anyway, we started talking, connected through a friend, because I was kind of looking and they were looking, and I was like, are you crazy? Like, I don't know anything about this. Like, I don't know. And so it was a long process for both of us, getting comfortable with it, and them getting comfortable with me. And I think that was a good thing. And realized that a lot of my consulting was going to serve me well in what they needed, because they had a very solid team of growers who were really smart. I mean, they had the skills they need. They just needed someone to come in from an operations perspective and help them with that. So after that, I said, let's make the move. It was very uncomfortable, like I said, just because I've always done consulting. And then all of a sudden, this big, 200,000 square foot building was mine to run. And it was very, very frightening. But luckily, the great people here just took me under their wing and taught me. And I just, it was like, let me go learn. Tell me what you know.
Okay, so
I always say, know what you don't know. Like, don't go in there thinking you know. Oh, and let
I
them.
say that too. I got that from my dad, and I say that so much. Wow, Beth, I feel
It's
that.
important
It
to
is
know
so
what you don't know.
important. It's like, it's not like you're downplaying yourself or your intelligence at all. It's actually
No.
It makes you a better player in the game.
It makes you self-aware, right?
Yes,
Because there's
yes.
nothing worse than trying to pretend you know something, because I knew that people would sniff that out in a second. If I tried to act like I knew what I didn't know, that was not gonna, help
Yeah.
me in the long run. So
And I think that happens to a lot of Brads and Chads. I'm going to be honest. And we can speak freely here on the Feminized podcast, okay? And we say it with all the love in our heart. No, but I have only the strongest, most awesome women on the show, and frequently they have messages for, their male colleagues, and they have different experiences than you, Beth. They're not all COOs,
Right.
They're in different roles and things like that. But, a lot of them come in feeling so accomplished because they are accomplished. They are very strong and powerful men who have done great work in a different industry. But then they come in and they're just, boom, I know it. It's like that's when things fall apart, They think I feel like they're planning just doing, spreadsheets as opposed to getting in there and really understanding that this is you're in agriculture now, like
absolutely. And it's, you can come from all these tangential industries, which is great. But when you come in to cannabis, and one of the things, for anyone looking to come in, there aren't best practices.
no.
There aren't structures often set up that are in a lot of these large corporations. So I always tell people we have to be Swiss Army knives. We have to be willing to do things outside of strict job description, because it is changing and you're learning and rules change and you have to adapt. And if you come in thinking you're just going to model this after a CPG company, let's say, or something else, it's going to be really hard because it is different. The rules are different. It doesn't fit that model. And I think a lot of people fall into that, honestly, that come in thinking, you hit the nail on the head, thinking to do, and it's like, no, you don't. It's
it's like, oh my
it's
God.
harder than that.
It's like she is going to eat you alive because it's an amazing thing to see how the more control you try to exert, the worse off, things become. And isn't that a fact with any plant that you're trying to grow? Much
True.
less, something that consumers, are consuming. I mean, with such strong, weird, whack regulation, all different. I mean,
Sure.
It's like the craziest game. It's like the Thunderdome, and it's crazy to watch and to be in, and there's just so much upside, and the upside, yes, in profits, but also, in good, to people and the planet, I think. So I have a question for you, Beth.
Sure.
What was your relationship with hemp like before you got into the cannabis industry? Or knowledge?
Like, I didn't know really anything about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I knew some, hemp clothing. There was some hemp clothing.
There was a hemp fest. I could eat it in my granola.
But otherwise, nothing.
Yeah. That's, an interesting piece of it too, I see. Again, it's just an observer and somebody who I love hemp. Hemp is my love. And you could take THC away from me and, that would suck. But really, hemp and what the promise is for, our planet is just really powerful and moving to me and my husband. And so we focus a lot of the work that we do in production on hemp. And
cool.
yeah, and so, but what I find is that, people who get into this industry who are badasses, who are great advocates of the plant, of the high THC plant, of cannabis, that they don't know about hemp. And it's like, I am so excited to be able to introduce you to that, because it's an industry too that needs really
big.
strong, brilliant people. And I'm not talking about the extracts, that's the CBD is what everybody talks about. We talk about hemp, but there's just so much more to it. And, again, being from Texas, it's a very, special. Industrial hemp is close to my heart, but it's just exciting to introduce badass women like you to the stronger. It's like, this is the big sister to THC plant. That's how I feel about it. It's the wiser big sister who could do more. So, it's just, I'm just so glad you're in this world. That's just a really cool thing to have, that knowledge coming in. Because we certainly need it, because it's been illegal for so long. It's all legacy. The practices, processes, SOPs. What the hell are those? It's like I grow this plant and I sell it, and that's what works. And it's like, not anymore, people.
I know it's big. It's big business for both, right? Hemp and and cannabis and. Just so much. There's still just, the sky's the limit where it can go, right? Like we're just like scratching the surface of it, and hopefully it will continue to grow. And I think as people, and I will admit, I grew up in the era where it was illegal, so you have a certain mindset on these things. Mm-hmm. You have to open your mind. You just have to open your mind. Yeah. And understand it, and if you do that, you start to realize, that it is a plant with a lot of potential that can tap into.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's I always mention every show, I think, about the importance and the awesomeness that that women, I think, the women's cannabis community. Is just the significance of that. It's growing just like the industry's growing, but the people who are talking about it and the people who are deliberately just talking about creating a better type of an industry. It's not even just about women, but it's women and men. It's about better business practices, more balance, more voices at the table, more diversity, because, correct me if I'm wrong, and please correct me if I'm wrong, teach me, but the fastest growing consumer demographic, they're females, like 30s, 40s, 50s.
Absolutely.
The caregivers and the ones in the home who are, who are spending the money on the treatments, right, and the things that will make their family feel better and themselves feel better. And cannabis is just the most beautiful thing for that, I think.
Yeah, it is a growing segment. And, I look at, my age group too is like hugely, and, it's a great spot, and it does, I don't know, stress relief, sleep, fun, whatever it is.
Period. Menopause, whatever the fuck you're dealing with down there. Sorry.
Truly, I'm like, if they can, if you can market it in that way to get, women in there, you've really got something going. But I think a lot of people, I run into people, and a lot of people, like, they don't know how to talk about it, or they don't know if they can really talk about it. And then when they know you work for a cannabis company, it's just like, wow, every cannabis experience they've had in their life. It's really kind of one time I was in picking up some pizza, and I had a Native Roots shirt on, and a young woman was in there, and we were chatting, and I told her I worked at Native Roots, and she was so cute, and she just started telling me how she loves, I can't remember what the product was, but that all of the grade school parents, they secretly like to do their little gummies and stuff. And I just laugh, because I'm like, this is way more mainstream than people think too. They just don't know how to talk about it.
Yes. I'm just so glad that you said that, because it's a fact, and it's like, why are we not talking about it? Because it's so much fun, and you meet someone, I think, at a higher level, pun intended, whatever, but you do, when you share a gummy, or even when you share a story about cannabis, it's like, oh, this is fun. Before this podcast, I was telling Tanis, my producer about native roots and just my love for the dispensary and the experience. And, I discovered a lot of really great strains there, thanks to the great bud tenders.
Yeah.
I chose the dispensary because of the branding. It's like fresh and graphic, and it feels good. Like, it's just, I think, culture enough, legacy enough. It feels like, feels like you built it from the ground up, but it's professional. It's somebody did this. Two people maybe did this, but they have this business and it's very professional. And okay, Alien OG, I'll tell you two stories, the bad story and then the good story. There are no bad stories, but that Alien OG was the highest I've ever been. I smoked the entire joint. Yes, native roots. I smoked the entire joint, and it was the ride of my life that I will never forget. So, and Liz Gross smokes a lot of weed. Okay,
I hope that was good in a good way.
No, it was great. It's all great because you discover something about yourself. You're not going to die. It's kind of funny if you can just chill out. This was a wild ride. Maybe I'll talk about it another time. But it was fun. Okay, so Alien OG. Second one, Northern Lights. We'd never had it before. Patrick and I picked a little up. We went camping. Best sex ever.
Oh, well, there you go.
It was like made us fans for life. I don't even, it was just all perfect. But that's one thing that cannabis does is it's like you're able to create these really fun like rituals, that if you're not talking about it, I think if you're not sharing this stuff, I don't know.
You're missing out.
Yeah, you're totally missing out. Hey, exactly. I'm like, more people could be living their best lives. Okay. Seriously. Okay. So I know you're super busy. I know you have a day job and all. But
well, this is way more fun.
Good. But okay, I ask 3 questions of all of my guests. Okay.
Okay.
So you are not exempt, Beth, even though we share close to the same name. First question is, tell me who's in your dream smoke circle. 3 people, dead or alive. And you could certainly have a gummy if you want to do a gummy, but you set the scene.
Wow. That is a good one. 3 people in my smoke circle. Did you say dead or alive?
Yeah, dead or alive.
Okay.
And even fictitious if you want. But
one of them would be, and this might sound a little weird, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the former Supreme Court Justice. For some reason, I picture her face, and she just has such an amazing, I read a book on her, and she was a trailblazer in her own way.
Yes.
I think it would be really fun to pick her brain on what's going on in the world. And plus she's, would be really cool. So I think she would be really fun. I think I would love to have some kind of a celebrity. I'm trying to think, who would my celebrity that would be interesting?
Yeah. Someone you really want to get real with.
Yeah.
You don't want to waste that one.
No. And I think I would want it to be a handsome, maybe a Brad Pitt or somebody.
I was going to say Jennifer Aniston or Brad Pitt.
He would be good too.
Go-tos. She would
be good too.
But yeah, you got RGB, you've got or RBG, you've got Brad Pitt, BP, and then you have one more spot.
And then maybe an athlete. I'm trying to think of an interesting, right now I think a very interesting person would be the gal who's detained in Russia, and why is her
Brittany
name?
Griner.
Brittany Griner.
Yes.
It would be fascinating to know her story and to find out what's really going on there. And plus just fascinating individual in that she, is an athlete who is amazing and has, rose through the ranks of that. And, that couldn't have been easy either. So
no.
Combo of people.
I love that combo of people. And the bonus is that since it's my game, I always pop up and just grab the J. So I'm excited about this fantasy smoke circle. Okay. All right. So the second question is, tell me a woman who's really inspiring you in cannabis right now.
I would have to say, well, there's a couple of people. Nancy from WANA,
Yes.
right?
Ding, ding, ding.
Is really a great, just a great lady. I'm lucky enough to have met her on several occasions. They're obviously a great partner of ours. We carry their brand in our stores. We love them, and I love their product. It's a great product. And Nancy's just a neat woman who has really succeeded. She's a badass running a really great company.
Episode 30. Nancy Whiteman. Huh? She was episode 30 of the Feminized.
Oh, that's so awesome. So, she to me is someone, plus, I see her out there. I see her winning awards. I see her just putting a really great, face on the industry and what she's done. And so she's pretty inspiring to me. And I feel very fortunate that I know her too. So
yes,
definitely would be someone I would say.
Nancy Whiteman.
Just add my women colleagues, my counterpart that runs retail is amazing. She has a background at Aveda, Estee Lauder, the Body Shop. Like, she has this really deep background in retail, and I learn from her all the time. And I love her, and I respect her, and we have we work well together because things in her world, they don't always like us, and sometimes my don't always go well. But I would say she is also, for me, as well as my other women colleagues that I work with, they inspire me as well.
And what's her name? The one you just
Denise
Denardi. Yay.
She's our chief sales officer, so she's another badass woman executive.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to talk to her. I can't wait to talk to you all. Okay, so my third question is, what advice do you have for 13-year-old Beth?
Yeah, for 13-year-old Beth, I would say ask for what you want. Be afraid to let people know what you want to do. Because I feel like it took me a very long time in my career to, you kind of, and I think women in general, we don't self-promote as well as our male counterparts do. I think sit back, we do the work, and we want to make sure we're really perfect before we put ourselves out there. I speak a lot for myself, but I know it's kind of common. And, if there's something that you want, don't wait for someone to recognize that. I think a lot of my career, I felt like, well, you should know that I'm doing a really good job, and you should think of me, for these opportunities.
Right.
But you really have to make it known that's what you want. And you can do it and push yourself a little. It's okay to fake it till you make it a little bit. I think,
you have to.
And trust yourself and ask for it. And people can just say no, right? And then you keep going. But that is one thing. It took me a very long time in my career to realize that, wow, you start telling people that, you're gonna, get to do the things you want to do. So
that's great advice. That's incredible advice, I think, for 13-year-old you, and for today. I needed to hear that. Thank you so much, Beth. Wow, though, it's been such a pleasure chatting with you. Thanks for coming on.
Too. Well, you too, Liz. It was great meeting you.
If you'd like more, subscribe to the Feminized podcast on YouTube. Follow at Feminized with Liz Grow on Instagram. Special thanks to our sponsors, Moose Labs and Richard's Rainwater. The Feminized podcast is a Grow House Media production, created by Liz Grow, produced by Patrick Pope and Dan Ray, with original theme music and audio mixing by Q at Q to King Productions in New Braunfels, Texas.